Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're going to finish this up here at the end of the hour. Thank you for sticking around and hanging out with us while we meandered through a bunch of just, what would you call it?
Fascinating political discourse.
I would call it political morass, personally, but you
have to sell us. You have to sell our show. No wonder they don't advertise with us.
Here's what I'll tell you. Because the political climate has become so confusing, and this Dolezal case, I'm just going to go with it until I hear differently.
All right.
Is kind of epitomizes that because, and I think that you expressed it pretty clearly. My sort of, I don't know, my ambivalence about it. We think that we're pretty sure there's a problem. We're pretty sure that there's an issue that we can like really feel negative about, except that I don't think that either one of us can articulate exactly what it is. I agree with you. I think that there's a problem with somebody lying about something like this, but I don't necessarily think it's because she is a white person who lied about being black. But I can't really articulate exactly where the problem is.
Well, yeah, and that's, I would agree with you. I think she should have stayed in the job. Apparently, she's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Right? Terrific. Go fight for your beliefs. And the truth of the matter is, and I work a lot with racial couples.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing to see. I'm just going to be out there. White women, when they start to date a black guy, will start to darken their complexion with makeup. There's a special makeup out there I didn't even have any idea about 10 years ago. And they start becoming more, they change their physical features. White men that date black women don't do this. Black women will start to dress more white. I've watched this phenomenon in my office. I have no idea if it's universal or it's just people in my office. But the bottom line is it is clear that she is seeking acceptance and getting her ego boosted and reformed by doing this. The problem is when you change your appearance that much, it makes everybody uncomfortable. I mean, that's one of the things with being transgender. I don't care who you are, making that decision makes people uncomfortable around you because you're changing superficially who you are. It doesn't change your DNA. You don't become black. You don't become a woman via DNA. It's just how you're choosing to identify. And the thing that I have a problem with is, if you get to choose externally who you are based upon external factors, then at what point does any of the social graces come into play? I mean, anything that we discuss.
But see, I thought about that a little bit when I was driving up here. One of the interesting things to me about the gender issue, and now apparently we're going to start having a discussion about the race issue, about if you can actually choose and whether, because these sort of articles I read talked about, hey, you got to live this experience. If you want to identify as a woman or identify as black or whatever, that's fine, except that don't act like you know what our struggle was all about. Hey, Caitlyn Jenner, you talk about wearing pretty clothes and doing your nails and stuff. That doesn't really, and this is the article that I read, that doesn't really speak to the struggle women have had for hundreds of years in this country. African-American folks the same way. In our legal system, in our concept of equal protection under the law, and our constitutional rights, there are certain things that the Supreme Court has identified as being immutable. And that is important because we talk about how there are certain classifications of people. And those classifications of people deserve to equal treatment under the law, and historically, some of them haven't. We talk about immutable characteristics like race, gender. If all of a sudden those become more fluid concepts, and those characteristics and the way we are supposed to treat those folks in every social context and presumably every legal context at this point, how do those characteristics relate to immutability as it relates to equal protection under the law?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's complicated.
I think I don't know that it's necessarily unsolvable, but I think it's very, very fascinating. And it's another aspect of where, because none of this kind of thing would be as convincingly possible if it not for technological advances over the last several decades that allow for people to look and act superficially as men and women, cross-gender, racial issues the same kind of way.
Yeah.
I mean, we had black like me back in the 60s, so it was possible back then, but it's more and more, it's easier now. But
part of the thing, I was reading this article. I follow UFC stuff, as you know. And apparently in another country, there's a guy who went through the change, so he's now a woman, but he's getting into this UFC ring and almost kills this female contestant. Right? At what point do we start drawing the line of, all right, you know, because what about a kid who can't get into school, can't get a scholarship, and goes, I'm going to be black because there's a lot more opportunity to get scholarships for blacks in school. I mean, what about that? I mean, those are the issues I think we need to start developing. Listen, I mean, if you're going to self-identify, right, if that's going to be the criteria is how you identify yourself, and there's no real objective identity, then how do you stop Rachel from applying for, well, hold on, they fired me because, or I didn't get a scholarship, so now I need to be more black so I can get a scholarship. How are you going to stop that? Those are the issues. Now, I hate to screw you on this one because usually I like to give them the last word, but we have to go. And so we'll be back next week. We're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff. I think we got a blog about that constitutional issue.
Yep.
And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Love both of them.